Hello, friends, and welcome to the City of the Immaculata, a channel where we discuss various topics of history and theology. We're working through St. Bonaventure's Mysticism, his Tree of Life, and today we will be discussing Christ's power. I've mentioned this in other videos that I've done on Bonaventure, and it becomes apparent as you spend time reading Bonaventure that you really are dealing with a master. I've said this in my lectures on this channel over Bonaventure's more scholastic works. He has a way of framing things and building upon that foundation to the apex of what is equivalent of a theological cathedral that he builds as he writes. But also, I'm finding more and more as I read his spiritual works that you're again dealing with a master. And I want to emphasize the importance that I think that you guys should take the time to read these spiritual works of Bonaventure, read his Tree of Life, read his Triple Way, which we'll be doing in the future on this channel. But these are but mere glimpses into the depth and the breadth of spiritual nourishment that he feeds his audience who take the time to read him. So this particular lecture, this particular fruit that we are looking at, you'll see here that he is deep in the waters of allegory and drawing from the life of Christ, pulling out of it little lessons for us, and that's the key takeaways in this. And again, these lectures don't do justice to his work. The only thing I could hope is that in listening to these lectures, you decide to take the time to pick up and read read the great Seraphic Doctor. So he begins with discussing Christ's baptism. He says that even before Jesus began to preach, he steps into the life-giving waters. And this shows us that we too are to engage in this performative action wherein the Trinity is opened up to us, just like it was when it was made manifest to the world when Christ was baptized by St. John the Baptist, when the Father speaks and the dove descends. Christ didn't have to, he chose to show us the way to, in our obedience, to increase in holiness and sanctity. And of course, as Catholics, the regenerative aspects of baptism are paramount to our salvation. Then Christ is tempted in the desert, and we see through this that his endurance through the tribulations in the desert is a sign of the kind of humility that we should be seeking. There was no fanfare, of course, in his time in the desert. He didn't announce his time. He simply went out to the desert and he prayed and he fasted. And he takes on a life that was both hard and solitary in solidarity with us to show us how we are to live. We're all called to hidden silence, to devout prayer, to day-long fasting to achieve this holiness. I myself have begun taking up very strict fasting in my life, and I have tried to add with that periods of devout prayer and silence and trying to humble myself, trying to step as far into the background as I can and place Christ, place the Father, the Spirit, our Mother, and all the saints into the fore, and as I try to hide in the background. And I think that a good sign of that is if we spend time of a good sign of how to do that is if we spend time with how Christ behaved and how he acted in the desert. Then we're to look at his miracles as signs, feeding the multitude, walking on water, curing the sick. He calls out to us in our own sickness, like the leper, like the centurion, like the woman of Canaan, like the woman who touches his garment. We are to seek out Christ's healing. All of these moments that Christ is healing others, he's showing us. Think of the woman that reaches out and touches his garment, right? She didn't ask him first. She reaches out and she touches his garment, and he turns and he doesn't rebuke her. We are to seek him out. We are to seek out Christ for our own healing. All of these instances of Christ performing these miracles are to inspire us in our lives to reach out for him. Then there is the transfiguration. For the power to strengthen us to endure to the end, Jesus calls us up to the mountain. We are to revel in the mystery of the Trinity, which shone forth in him, revealed in this moment to Peter, James, and John. St. Bonaventure says that the old is revealed in him, as we see him with Moses and Elijah, and the new is revealed as we hear the voices of the Father and the Spirit. The transfiguration is this moment where the fullness of Christ's divinity becomes apparent at that time to Peter, James, and John, but also to us as we look back, we see that the entire history of Christ that shone forth not only shines forth to us here forward in the present day, but also back across all of history. We're to read all of history through the lens of this transfigurative light. And in conclusion, Bonaventure says, so the soul devoted to Christ, strengthened in truth, and borne to the summit of virtue, can faithfully say with Peter, Lord, it is good for us to be here. And that's all that we can hope for, that one day with Peter we can say with the saints and with the angels in unison that, Lord, it is good for us to be here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. God bless.